history making isn't something that's inert or taken for granted. It requires our labor to reassemble histories, to make materials available. I'm a scholar of the Caribbean and an anthropologist by training. My interest in my field of study, which focuses on the relationship between natural resources and political power in the Caribbean, really emerged out of my own personal story. My paternal family, which is from Jamaica, actually worked primarily in the bauxite industry, and bauxite being the raw material that's mined and then refined into aluminum. So I really wanted to understand the relationship between these two trajectories of post-colonial development. And I also wanted to think about what it meant to study this from the perspective of a small place like Trinidad. Trinidad is odd in that it's one of the oldest oil-producing territories. Very few people think about Trinidad first if you mention oil and gas. So much of my research in Trinidad was actually conducted during a period of downturn in global oil and gas prices, and also a period of declining production. I was really interested in why the Petro-state continued to persist even at a moment of decline. And I talk about this in the book as a masquerade of permanence, which involves various kinds of public statements, performances by state officials and their partners in the corporate sector to assert that, again, more oil and gas will be found, rather than this being a diminishing resource that will run out. Michel-Rolph Trouillot is a very well-known figure in my discipline of anthropology. And in a lot of ways, I think he makes the kind of anthropology that I do possible. He hailed from Haiti and also conducted his research in the Caribbean, particularly in Dominica and Haiti. Trouillot is really expanding what we understood ethnography to be, the sort of classical orientation of anthropology toward very small societies that it understood to be isolated and unchanging, really couldn't hold in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is a place and a landscape that's defined indelibly by these histories of plantation slavery and colonization over several centuries. What Trouillot did is really alert us to the distinctiveness of the Caribbean as a political and cultural geography. To inherit that legacy as a scholar of the Caribbean here at the University of Chicago is to continue to take seriously what these small places can lend to a study of the world at large. In this, I hope we sort of reflect on Trouillot as a very dynamic figure who is both, again, a professional scholar, but also an incredible creative talent. His history as part of a compa band that was sort of agitating again in this Haitian exile community in Brooklyn in the 1970s. So bringing all of these different forms of media together in the scope of a single exhibition, I hope conveys what anthropology can be if we think broadly about how our research method and our orientation to the social worlds that we inhabit can actually be taken up in a variety of different domains.